Welcome to the English version of my YouTube channel Pulse Multimedia. Here I regularly post reviews about DIY, electronics, and various useful devices. Subscribe so you don't miss new interesting videos.
Привет, друзья!
Hi guys, I hope today's video will be useful to many masters, for those people who often work with electric tools, who loves and cares for him. I will tell you in detail how you can charge any batteries using just one universal charger. Batteries can be of different brands. I will tell you how to properly use batteries, how to extend their lifespan. I will teach you how to check the quality of the battery. For example, if you bought a battery in AliExpress, you will learn how to check your battery for wear. Is your battery new or is it time to throw it away? Or, for example, you can take two batteries from different manufacturers for one tool. Test them and see which one is better. Some people test a battery by driving a million screws into wood. It's not the best way. Today, there are special electronic tools that allow you to accurately determine the quality of the battery. That's all I'll try to tell you today in detail. Many of us use more than one electric tool. There are many of them and they are different brands. Every company has its good and bad models. Therefore, it is necessary to combine tools from different manufacturers. For this reason, we have a lot of chargers, various brands and voltages. It is not comfortable. What many people don't know is that this pile of chargers can be easily disposed of. Here is a universal charger that will help us. They come in different sizes and capacities. It is very important that this charger correctly exploits your battery, using the correct currents and voltages. In some cases, much more correctly than the charger does. That comes with your instrument. Ultimately, this extends the life of your battery. But in order to use such a wonderful charger, it will be useful for us to understand a little theory. Let's start with the charge current. Battery charge current is one of the most important parameters. It affects the lifespan of your battery. There is a simple rule. It is not recommended to charge the battery with a current exceeding the capacity of this battery. What does it mean? For example, the capacity of your battery is 5 ampere-hours. It is not recommended to charge such a battery with a current of more than 5 amperes. If the current is less, it's even good. The battery will not warm up while charging. Well, if you charge such a battery with a current of 6, 7, or 10 amperes, then firstly it will start to get very hot. This shortens its lifespan. Of course it won't break after 1 hour. But with prolonged use, its life will be noticeably reduced. It is very easy to determine the value of the charge current of the device by measuring the time during which the battery was charged. We know that it is impossible to charge a battery with a current greater than its capacity. Current is measured in amperes per hour. Accordingly, you cannot charge the battery faster than 1 hour. If the battery is charged faster than 1 hour, then too much current was used. This is a simple rule. It's easy to remember, so with the current we figured it out. Now let's talk about the rules for storing lithium batteries. Some people use their tools only at certain times of the year. For example, a garden tool is not used in winter. It can be a trimmer or a lawn mower. The grass was mowed in the summer, but removed to the garage in the winter. The batteries were disconnected and placed on a shelf. So, many people have erroneous misconceptions about how to properly store their batteries. Often even sellers of garden equipment do not understand this issue. They may give you incorrect advice. The most popular misconception is that a lithium battery must be fully charged before storage. This is categorically not true. For proper storage, the lithium battery must be at 60% charge. Only in this state can it be safely removed for long-term storage. Such a smart charger successfully copes with this task. There is a special mode called storage. With a conventional charger, you will not be able to bring the battery to a state of 60% charge. There are no necessary functions for this. The only thing that a regular charger can do is fully charge the battery. Naturally, this charger will also not be able to measure the battery capacity. There is a second rule for battery storage. They must be stored in cold, but it shouldn't be frost. Not sub-zero temperatures. It should be a mild cold, such as in a home refrigerator. To do this, you can buy a small waterproof container. Put your batteries in it and put it away until spring. Let them be stored in your refrigerator. So we dealt with that. 60% charge and cold. These wonderful smart chargers can perform this procedure completely automatically. There are other models like this. They are different. They differ in power and function. All of them are excellent at this task. All you have to do is press a button and you can go about your business. If the battery was charged, it will be discharged to 60%. If the battery has been discharged, it will charge up to 60%. Everything will happen automatically. Another advantage of these smart chargers is the battery capacity measurement function. Let me give you an example. We bought a non-original battery for Makita tools. Why not? Here it says 6 amp hours. You probably know that original batteries are very expensive. To understand how high quality the battery we bought, you can compare it with the original Makita battery. For the test, people sometimes use the easiest way. They take a screwdriver, screws, and twist them into wood. Hundreds of pieces. Then they measure how many screws the battery lasted. Some masters use a different method. They weigh the battery. Yes, indeed, according to statistics, a good battery should be heavier. But in reality, this method does not always work. On the internet, you can find videos where people open Chinese batteries. Sometimes the Chinese are real cheaters. Maybe so out of 6 cells, 3 are filled with sand. Yes, guys, ordinary sea sand. This is done so that the low-quality battery is heavy. But a smart charger can't be fooled. You can connect a battery here and measure it for real capacity. First, the battery is fully charged, and then the discharge process begins, in which the amount of energy received is measured. We get values in milliamp hours. It is very comfortable. If you bought a Chinese battery of 6 ampere hours, then you can test it. As a result of the test, you will get the exact value of the actual battery capacity. Based on this information, you can open a dispute on AliExpress and return some of the money. Or maybe you will understand that this is a very good battery and buy more for yourself and your friends. A classic charger from your tool will not be able to do this. Smart Balance Charger provides you with much more possibilities. I saw a funny video on the internet. A man bought a very cheap battery on AliExpress that says 8 amp hours. The author of this video unpacked the battery, inserted it into a screwdriver to twist, and began to claim that the battery is very cool. No test or measurement. It is impossible to draw conclusions about the quality of the battery judging by the inscription on its case. Now let's discuss a topic in which there are many legends. People are afraid to assemble and charge such batteries on their own, because they don't understand how it works. I'm talking about the number of contacts on the battery. Many mistakenly believe that with the help of these contacts, the charger balances the cans. Actually, these are all myths. Most of these construction tool batteries do not have cell balancing. This function is not performed by the charger or controller inside the battery. However, it should be noted that the batteries of the latest modifications have been improved. Some of them do have balancing of cans with the help of a BMS controller installed inside the battery, but this is rare. In any case, these contacts do not take any part in balancing the cans. This is how it is usually designed by all manufacturers. But there are rare exceptions. For example, DeWalt. Their battery is actually being balanced with a charger. On DeWalt batteries you can see 8 pins. Some of them are connected directly to cells. But such a solution is an exception to the rule. In fact, almost all building tool manufacturers do not use the contacts on the battery to balance the cells. Therefore, you should not be afraid of a large number of contacts on the battery. There is no balance here. In the process of charging and discharging, only 2 contacts are used. You may ask me, why are there so many contacts here? For example, Metabo has 5 pieces. The extreme contacts are designed for constant voltage plus and minus. The rest of the contacts perform various tasks. Design may differ slightly from manufacturer to manufacturer, but nothing that we would be interested in. For example, Metabo has a contact for a temperature sensor inside the battery here. The charger monitors the temperature inside the battery. This is necessary for fire safety, in the case of using high currents to charge the battery. There are also contacts that perform data transfer. Usually this is some kind of statistical information. How many charge-discharge cycles? How many overloads and overheating? We don't need this information at all. This data is necessary for the service center to deny you a warranty repair. During the charging process, it is not used in any way. You see, Makita has a lot of them here too. Look at the battery from Metabo. Contacts are signed here. You see, plus and minus, it's all. We don't need anything else. Therefore, it is very easy to charge such a battery. It is enough to apply a constant voltage plus and minus here. If the battery is a completely new modification, then a CAN balancing board can be installed inside it. This is a BMS controller that balances your battery on its own. But the charger does not take any part in this process. Well, as I said, most modern batteries do not even have such a BMS board. There is only a protection controller. When a battery is assembled at the factory, it must use cans of the same capacity and production date. Therefore, theoretically, for such cans, a balancing board is not needed. Now I would like to discuss with you the choice of battery system. Today, practice has shown that different manufacturers of building tools have a different policy of attitude towards the client. Now I will explain what I mean. I myself use Metabo, Bosch and Dexter tools. But lately I have been buying Makita tools more and more. And there are reasons for that. I can't say that I like Makita tools very much. It's just a good quality tool. What do I not like about Metabo tools? In their latest models, they began to install a protection module. It does not allow the use of batteries from other manufacturers. For example, you bought a non-original Metabo battery on AliExpress. It will not work with modern instrument. In these models, it works for 2 seconds and turns off. I am absolutely convinced that this is wrong. The consumer has the right to choose which battery to use. For example, the driver has the right to choose which gas station to refuel his car. I believe such a pernicious policy has no future. Many companies have gone this route without success. For example, manufacturers of photo and video cameras experimented with this, such as Canon and Panasonic. Also tried to embed the protection module in their devices, because they want to earn not only on gadgets, but even more money on the sale of their batteries. But it's completely useless. It's only been 1 or 2 years. Now all of AliExpress is filled with batteries for photo and video cameras that have all the necessary controllers. The data transfer protocol is observed and such a battery is recognized in the camera as original. The camera will never guess that it has a battery installed from AliExpress. I promise you that very soon the same fate awaits Metabo. But such a policy scares away professional craftsmen. An original and non-original battery with the same capacity may have a price difference of 2 or 3 times. Therefore, I believe that Makita has a very correct policy today. The tools do not have a chip that would prohibit the use of third-party batteries. And it is right. Yes, Makita makes its own batteries. They are of good quality but they have a high price. However, the consumer has the right to choose. If you wish, you can buy a non-original battery for your tool. If it is a good quality battery, it will also work successfully, but the price will be 2 or 3 times lower. Makita is great. They have a custom-oriented policy. Therefore, if you are choosing a battery system today, I suggest you turn your attention to Makita tools. Probably because there is no protection here, the Makita system has become very widespread in the world. Today on the market there are a huge number of tools of Chinese brands that work with Makita mount batteries, and sometimes these tools are of very good quality. The more tools and batteries of a single battery system are produced, the better for the end user. Yes, of course, sometimes you can find very bad batteries on AliExpress, but I assure you that there are also many batteries of very high quality. I have bought them many times myself. Although lately I prefer to collect batteries myself. A smart charger will help us check the quality of the battery. We can test each new battery and accurately understand whether it is good or bad. Now I will tell you how to connect the battery to this charger. Let's see what connectors are here. First of all, there is a small balancing connector. It is used to charge the batteries of radio-controlled toys. We don't need it. We will not balance our battery. This task is performed by the controller that is installed inside the battery. We do not balance cells with a charger. We only need the main power contacts. The advantage of this model is that it has 2 independent ports. Here you can see the plus and minus. And here is a plus and a minus. These connectors are called bananas. There are those that are called XT60. They can be yellow or black. Nothing complicated. It just sticks in here. How to connect to this battery? There is no problem with this at all. We'll talk about the Makita mount since it's the most popular. In China, you can buy this battery holder for the Makita mount. Note that M and B are written here. This is a dual-purpose adapter. It is compatible with 18V Makita and Bosch batteries. You just need to move the contacts depending on the type of your battery. That's all. There are no super space technologies here. This is how he dresses and everything works. To conveniently charge the battery, you can buy such an adapter and solder the XT60 connector to it. You can connect a second battery to another port. As a result, you get a convenient, powerful, smart charger for 2 batteries. There are such chargers with 4 ports. Same compact size. You can buy such a device and charge 4 batteries at once. Just imagine, it is fantastic. This is how it all looks. You can adjust the charge current yourself. If you cannot find a holder for your battery, then this is not a problem. See what I do in this case. For example, I have a Bosch 12-volt battery. There are 2 power pins here. Unfortunately, I do not have a special holder for this battery, but there is a solution. You can buy the cheapest Chinese charger for this battery. Disassemble it, pull out all the electronics, and convert it into a holder. But I do things differently with this battery. I have this homemade wire. One side is 2 bananas. On the other side there are 2 flat contacts. I insert black into minus, and red plus. Everything is extremely simple. It is convenient that with the help of these flat contacts you can connect to any battery. If you do not have a suitable holder, you can use them. For example, I put in a Makita battery. Black minus, red plus. Holds up very well. I do the same with the Metabo battery. AliExpress sells a special holder, but you cannot buy it, but use these contacts. Everything is exactly the same. Plus and minus are marked on the battery. Accordingly, I insert red into the plus. Contact enters here tightly and holds well here. Black minus. Connected, and now you can charge. This solution is for when you don't have a holder. These adapters are available for different brands of instruments. Or you can buy the cheapest Chinese charger for Metabo on AliExpress, disassemble it and pull out the electronics. Solder the wire to the internal pins and connect to the smart charger. Where can I get these flat contacts? Everything is very simple. Now I will show you a life hack. There is a connector called T-plug. This is how it looks. It is used in radio-controlled toys. Here one contact is located vertically and the other horizontally. On AliExpress, such connectors are sold at a price of $2 per 10 kilograms. Take wire cutters and break this connector. Your task is to pull out these 2 flat contacts from here. That's all. You can use them anywhere. They fit into any battery from a construction tool. For example, let me show you a Dexter battery. This is exactly the same battery as on the Works and Lux tools. You see, plus and minus are also written here. With these 2 contacts, you get an absolutely universal connector for any battery. 1, 2, and turned on the charge. To connect the battery to the charger, I recommend using a copper cable. It will allow you to charge the batteries with a large current. Pay attention to the fact that now on sale you can find a copper-plated cable. Basically, it's just a scam. Sellers offer such a cable under the guise of copper, but in reality it is not copper. This cable is disgusting. If you look at the cut of the copper wire, we will notice that it is yellow inside. That is, its color outside and inside is the same. The copper-plated wire is yellow only on the outside. Well, on the cut you can see that inside the wire is silver. I highly do not recommend using such a cable. This is complete crap. Take ordinary 2-color copper wires. The connection is very simple. Let's take this charger. For example, this model is equipped with banana contacts. We connect black, red. This is respectively our plus and minus. We snap the holder onto our battery. Everything is very simple. You may want to use a 2-port charger. For example, for a Makita lawnmower, I charge 2 batteries at the same time. No problem. I connect the first battery. Then I connect the second port. Everything, simply and easily. It is very important that the battery is charged with the correct currents here. You can adjust its power. There will be no overheating of the battery that destroys our battery. To the correct voltage. You can examine the quality of the battery by measuring its capacity. Properly use and store your batteries. I love this thing. But that's not all. You get a charger for more than just building tools. This is a truly universal gadget that can charge absolutely any battery, even for a car. For example, I will take such an 18650 format battery for a flashlight. It will be convenient for you if you create a special holder for it. I used the cheapest Chinese charger. I took it apart and pulled out all the electronics. I put the wire inside and soldered the contacts. It is very convenient to use, but if you want the most budgetary and easiest option, then you can do it like this. You will need two small neodymium magnets. You put one magnet on minus, and put the other on plus. Somewhere I had a wire with crocodiles around here. Black for minus, red for plus. That's all. See what a beauty. You can charge it, discharge it, and measure its capacity. You can assemble a holder for two batteries. Here you can charge batteries of the format 2A, 3A, 18650 and the like. Connect a dual-port charger and can charge two batteries at the same time. You can assemble a holder for four batteries. As I said, I bought the cheapest charger, pulled out the electronics from it and connected the wire. But there will be no balancing in this holder, because there is only one wire. If you want to balance your 18650 batteries, you can assemble such a holder there. Thus, this electronic box becomes essentially a universal tool for you. You won't need any charger in your house anymore. Here are 6 cells. This is how I connect. Here XT60. So I take a charger with an XT60 connector. I connect the power cable. Here you can see I have connected the balance connector. Each pin of this connector is connected to a separate cell. Insert the balance connector into the charger. Now you can charge 6 batteries at the same time. And not only to charge, but you can equalize the voltage on them. Of course, this can be done separately with each cell. However, with this connection, the voltage equalization on all cells occurs automatically and simultaneously. This operation is performed by the charger. You will be able to control the current and voltage on each individual cell, so you get an absolutely universal charger. This is really cool. Now let's look at the management of the charger. Everything is quite simple here. In any universal balance charger, we begin our work by choosing the type of battery. This is where I configured the lithium polymer battery. The next step is to select the operating modes. Let's start with the most classic. It's a charge. You might think that now we have to adjust the voltage of the battery. But it's not. This is a smart charger. It adjusts itself to the required voltage according to our battery. This happens completely automatically. We only need to specify the number of cells in the battery. Here is a very short guide. For example, if we use an 18 or 20 volt battery, then this is a 5-cell battery. So here I choose 5S. If your battery has a voltage of 12 volts or, for example, 10.8, then this is a 3-cell battery. So here I choose 3S. This information is enough to successfully charge batteries from a construction tool. For those people who want to get more information on this topic, I will now tell you more. So, it may seem to an inexperienced user that various lithium batteries can be of absolutely any voltage. In reality, this is not so. Any lithium battery is a power source with a nominal voltage of 3.7 volts. In rare cases 3.6. The small battery in a flashlight consists of just one such cell, but you can find other large powerful batteries that have many of these cells. Such a battery has a high voltage and produces large currents, but she still consists of hundreds of small individual batteries. The high voltage of a large battery is the sum of the individual cell voltages of 3.7 volts. The total voltage of a lithium battery is always the sum of the voltage of the cells installed inside it. Therefore, a lithium battery cannot have absolutely any voltage, for example 5 volts. In real life, we are surrounded by a huge number of electronic devices with different batteries. But in reality, the inside of the batteries are all the same. If the battery has one cell, and its output voltage is 3.7 volts, then such a battery is a single-cell battery. If we have 2 lithium cells in the battery connected in series, then we get 7.4 volts at the output. This battery is 2-cell. If we connect 3 lithium cells in series, then we get a nominal voltage of 11.1 volts at the output. This battery is called 3-cell. Cells can be connected in parallel to increase battery capacity. With this connection, there is no increase in output voltage. Therefore, this design corresponds to 1 battery, but with increased power. With the help of what connection scheme are batteries of increased voltage and power created? The 18650 type battery is the most widely used. It is used in most powerful electronic devices, from a flashlight to an electric car. Yes, this is the same small battery that is used in construction tools. Let's repeat the received information to remember. All lithium batteries consist of cells with a nominal voltage of 3.7, less often 3.6 volts. The total voltage of any large lithium battery is always the sum of several cells 3.7 volts. The voltage across a discharged cell is 3 volts. If a lithium battery is fully charged, then its maximum voltage is 4.2 volts. Usually, the minimum and maximum voltage are not indicated on the battery case. Most often, manufacturers designate a nominal voltage that corresponds to 50% of the charge. This is 3.7 volts for one cell. Each battery is usually labeled with a total rated output voltage. Based on this data, we can determine how many cells are in the accumulator. If we remember that the voltage of one cell is 3.7 volts, then we can very simply determine the parameters of any multicell battery. 3.7 volts means one cell. 7.4 means 2 cans. And so on. Modern powerful lithium batteries can have a huge number of cells inside. For example, an electric bicycle battery may contain 16 cells. I remind you that cells can also be connected in parallel to increase power. Therefore, despite the fact that the battery is called 16-cell, in reality it can have 3 to 4 times more cells. It's just that some of them are connected in series and others in parallel. If we see an 18-volt battery on a construction tool, then this is a 5-cell battery. The nominal voltage of each cell is 3.7 or 3.6 volts. Today there is a standard designation for a 5-cell battery for construction tools. It's 18 volts. If batteries with a nominal voltage of 3.7 volts are used inside, then 5 such cells in total give out 18.5 volts. Well, for such batteries, usually they simply indicate 18 volts on the case. You may have a question, why do I sometimes see 20-volt batteries for sale? In fact, this is just marketing and a way of unfair advertising. This is also a 5-cell battery. The manufacturer just cheated and indicated the voltage of a full charge, instead of the nominal one. Sometimes they even indicate 21 volts. But in reality, this is still the same 5-cell lithium battery with a nominal voltage of 18.5 volts at the output. The same rules apply to the marking of 3-cell batteries. 10.8 or 12 volts may be indicated. In fact, this is one of the allowable voltages of a 3-cell battery. And so we figured out the voltages and cells. Let's get back to our charger. If we charge a single-cell battery, then set it to 1S in the settings. If a voltage of 7.2 or 7.4 volts is written on our battery, then this means that the battery is 2-cell. Enter 2S. A battery that says 10.8 or 12 volts is a 3-cell battery. Set up 3S. Well, the last where we started. One of the most popular types of batteries for construction tools. 18 volts is a 5-cell battery. Specify 5S. Using such a charger, we just need to set the type of battery and the number of cells in it. The device will automatically set the correct voltage for charge, discharge, or storage modes. The last parameter that we need to adjust is the current power. This setting affects how fast your battery charges. The higher the current, the faster the battery charges. But too much current can damage your battery or cause it to degrade prematurely. Remember what we talked about earlier? The charge current should not exceed the capacity of the battery. You can set a smaller value, then your battery will be charged gently. The battery capacity is indicated by the letter C. Usually, in balanced chargers, you need to adjust the current value. But for example, in this EVPeak C1 model there is a small hint for the user. Here you need to specify not the current, but the capacity of our battery. This help is for the inexperienced user. Based on this value, the charger itself offers the maximum possible current. So here you can clearly see what I'm talking about. There is a direct relationship between battery capacity and charge current. This battery has a capacity of 6 amp-hours. Accordingly, for this battery, the charge current can be no more than 6 amperes. But there is one small nuance here. I am holding a Chinese battery that I bought on AliExpress. We cannot always trust Chinese data. Despite the fact that 6 ampere-hours is indicated here, in reality the capacity of this battery may be less. In this case, before using a large current to charge this battery, I recommend testing it. It is necessary to measure its real capacity. Such a smart charger will perfectly cope with this task. I tested this battery and determined that it actually has 4.5 amp-hours. This information tells me not only about the quality of the battery. It tells us what actual current value to use when charging. As you understand, this battery should not be charged with a current of 6 amperes. You need to set the value to no more than 4.5 amperes. This applies not only to Chinese batteries. This manual is also suitable for the operation of original batteries. After all, we must remember that any battery loses its capacity over time. It is advisable to sometimes test your battery and charge it with the current that corresponds to its real capacity. That's all I can tell you about setting the charge parameters. We start the process and go to perform our other tasks. At the beginning of the charge, the current will have a fixed value. The voltage on the battery will gradually increase. When the voltage reaches its maximum, it will stop increasing. After that, the current will begin to decrease. But to be honest, we do not need to understand these processes. This device will do everything automatically. Today on sale there are many interesting universal chargers. For example, let me show you another model. The main settings are the same everywhere. Here you will not get confused. This is the T400 model from HTRC. It's a touch screen. First, I select the type of lithium battery, and then the charge mode. If you look carefully at the screen, you will notice that the same parameters are here. I set the number of cells. I have an 18-volt battery, which means 5S. I set the current to 6 amps. 1 minute. Why 6? If you remember, we found out that my battery is not 6 amps but 4.5 amp-hours. Therefore, I set the current to no more than 4.5 amperes. What other settings are there? Did you notice something new? This model has an additional setting that allows you to set the cutoff voltage for one cell. Usually this setting does not need to be changed. This feature is for advanced users. By default, the correct parameters are set there in accordance with the logic of the charger. We have a lithium battery. Accordingly, the cutoff voltage for it is 4.2 volts. That's the way it should be. You can also see the second parameter, is the discharge current. He is not active at all. In charge mode, it cannot be adjusted. That's all. Press start and go to drink tea. For example, I propose to look at another model. It may seem that all these devices are very different and you will not understand them. Do not worry about it. In fact, they differ only in the interface. The main parameters are all the same. I will show you the very popular D6 Duo Pro from Hota. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Soon I will have a big review of this interesting gadget. So, mode, charge. Battery type lithium polymer. As with the T400, the cutoff voltage can be adjusted here. The default is 4.2 volts. Be careful, increasing this value may result in a battery fire. Trust your charger. Now you need to set the number of cells. My Makita battery is 18 volts and I set the value to 5S. You see, the device even suggests the total voltage. This will help you make the right choice. The last parameter is the charge current. As you can see, all the parameters are the same, despite the fact that the devices are different. The only difference is the interface and menu. If I were to charge a genuine Makita battery that has a capacity of 4 amp-hours, I would set the current to 4 amps. But now my Chinese battery has a capacity of 4.5 amp-hours, so I set the charge current to 4.5 amps. That's all I wanted to tell about the charge mode. Now let's look at the discharge mode. The discharge function is very important for battery testing. The battery capacity is measured only during discharge. For us it is very important. We can test the battery to see if it's good or bad. If you know the real capacity of the battery, you can understand if the seller on AliExpress has deceived you. This information will help you get some of the money back. Or maybe it will be the other way around. You bought a battery and found out that it is of very good quality. Then you can safely buy 2 or 3 more pieces. By measuring capacity, you can understand how old your original battery is. After all, nothing lasts forever. Discharge mode parameters are very similar to charge mode. I choose discharge mode. Next, we can adjust the cutoff voltage of the discharge. We leave the default value of 3 volts. The next step is to specify the discharge current. I don't recommend using a high value. The last parameter is the number of cells. My battery is 5 cell, so I set it to 5S. Note that the charger will tell you the total voltage of the battery. This is a hint so that you do not make a mistake in choosing. After you press start, the device will completely discharge your battery. During operation, the discharge time and capacity of the battery will be measured. At the end of the process, we will see this information. Well, the last thing we haven't talked about yet is the storage mode. If you plan not to use your battery for a long time, it is recommended to put it in a state of 60% charge. The storage mode cannot be called a discharge or charge of the battery. This is an adaptive mode. Our smart device automatically selects the required function depending on the state of the battery. It can be both charge and discharge. The function brings the batteries to a state of 60% charge. You see here I specify the charge current for the storage function. To set the discharge current for the storage function, I need to switch to the discharge mode. There are chargers where it is implemented more conveniently, in one window. For example, in the T400 model, we see all the parameters at the same time. Number of cells, cutoff voltage 3.85 volts. This roughly corresponds to 60% battery charge. The current for charging and discharging is also indicated here. Well guys, that's all. I talked about the main functions that you may need when working with your batteries. Some models of such chargers have a huge number of additional useful features. A world of unlimited possibilities opens up before you in the professional operation of batteries. I myself use such devices on a daily basis to charge batteries for video and photo cameras, quadcopters, construction tools, walkie-talkies, and much more. I really like that I can test the battery myself and determine its true quality. First of all, it allows me not to spend a lot of money on original batteries. You know they are very expensive. With the help of such a device, I can successfully select high-quality analogs for myself. The current control allows me to choose how fast the battery will charge. It is very convenient to use two-port charger. For example, the T400 model. Here, in one case, there are two independent chargers. Look here. I configured the first port settings and started the process. Then I switched to the second port. Here I can choose a different type of battery and a different mode of operation. For example, the first port can charge the battery. At the same time, the second port is to discharge another battery. All this happens at the same time, but there are also 4-port chargers. Imagine, it's just fantastic. One battery is being charged, another is being discharged, the third and fourth are in storage mode. Some devices have the function of a laboratory power supply. It is very comfortable. For example, as in the T400 model. Just imagine, this small case houses two fully independent lab power supplies. You can set any voltage and any current. You can supply power to the car radio on your desk. Or here's another example. I needed to cut a large piece of styrofoam. I took a nichrome wire and connected it to this charger. When applying high voltage and powerful current, the wire gets very hot and cuts styrofoam perfectly. Here's another case I had. My car's battery is dead. I leave the house in the morning, I get into the car and it won't start. With the help of this charger, I very quickly charged the car battery. After all, here you can charge not only lithium batteries. You can also work with lead acid, nickel metal hydride, nickel cadmium and other types of batteries. Think for yourself. Why do you need this huge pile of chargers? After all, it's not convenient. In addition, a powerful 2-port construction tool charger is very expensive. It does not know how to do anything other than charge. Why is this? Today, you can replace all your chargers with just one universal smart charger. You'll get multiple ports, lots of features, and lots of power. At the same time, the price can be even lower than a branded charger from Makita, Milwaukee, or Bosch. The device is very cool. I use it every day. I recommend to everyone. Well guys, that's all. Today you learned about how to conveniently and correctly use batteries for our favorite construction tool. We have studied smart chargers. They will operate your battery much more carefully than a regular charger does. Please like, I will grateful to you. Bye.
Всем пока.